Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Today, we're going to talk about self-help books. The problem with self-help books in the English-speaking world is that they tend to take a one-size-fits-everyone approach. That's a metaphor which means that they think that their principles of psychology can apply to everyone in the world. These books are often translated into many different languages, but across the world we are very diverse. Even between America and the UK, our behaviours can be very different. An American who screams, "I want more fries," from a very busy McDonald's across the room may be asked to leave if he tries the same things in the UK. Something as simple as this shows that not everything applies to the same people. So, rules from a book can apply to a specific culture, but they don't often translate well into other cultures. The result is we get into a situation where one day we tell our boss that he's our best friend, and then the next day we attack him with assertiveness phrases like, "I understand what you're saying, but I'm not doing that for you today." So you can't have it both ways. At the moment, I'm reading a self-help book called The Social Strategist, which is all about building up your social network, and also about how to gain control over conversations and how to get people to like you. The book is a very well-written book, but it's designed clearly for European or American culture. It talks about being aggressive and fails to take into account the dysphoria, the fact that there's many people across the world who are very unhappy with their lives, and these people often don't respond well to things like assertiveness, has a much deeper problem about happiness, not just about the way we communicate with each other. A second problem that self-help books often fail to recognize is that many people from other countries have moved to English-speaking countries. To expect them to understand all of the different ways in which British or American psychology works to get things done really doesn't work well. So you see, these books can be very useful, but they cannot be seen as being literal. So if you take a book, for example, and begin reading it, you can't suddenly change your negotiation style or your business style with your boss. You can, in general, learn how to get what you want from other people by using language, but again, that doesn't always work well in a second language. Even across the English world, as I mentioned earlier with my example of McDonald's, I can tell you that sometimes there are conflicts here because Americans are perceived to be loud and aggressive when in fact they're just being who they are, whereas British people are seen to be overly polite and without assertiveness. That also can be true. So there isn't a right or wrong, but to try to write a book to encourage all of our cultures to be somehow more pushy to get what we want may be good for some people, but in other ways it inflicts on certain cultural boundaries, and it also can hurt non-native speakers unintentionally. This self-help book that I'm reading, The Social Strategist, is a wonderful book for English speakers in teaching them to get what they want. But a lot of things just don't translate well. For example, this book teaches us that we all should be aggressive. especially or as much as another person is showing us aggression. But what I might find aggressive and what you might find okay in your speech may be two very different things. And certainly working here on Italki, it would seem to me that I meet people from all walks of life. Some of them sound aggressive, some of them don't. And it's not for me to judge them. When I first came to Italki, I thought, oh my goodness, everyone's so rude here. But I soon learned that, well, it's not that everyone's so rude, it's that English people are overly polite. So, can self-help books be redeemed? Of course, absolutely. I mean, they are very useful for giving you general tips about how business in the English-speaking world works. They're also very good for helping you to navigate that world of relationships, communication, whether they are personal relationships, romantic relationships, or business relationships. In general, what they're saying is fine, but you cannot negate or take away the personal aspects of how someone communicates, and you can't expect everyone to think that your style of communication is okay and that it can change from moment to moment, where one day you're friendly with your boss, the next day you're using major power communication or assertiveness skills to get what you want from him. That would seem to be a little bit strange. When it comes to language learning and self-help books, there's a lot which you can get from them. Books which deal with time management and how to use your time effectively may be very, very good if you come from a culture which perhaps has a more relaxed attitude towards time. Another thing which these self-help books are very good for is to motivate you and to ensure you're using your time effectively. Now, those of you who've heard me speaking on podcasts before, you will know that I don't really think of motivation as something which comes and goes. I think of motivation as something which is static and always with us. The other good thing about self-help books is that they can help you to grow. They can help you to see past your limitations or the labels you put upon yourself and allow you to see some kind of bigger picture. And that's really important in language learning because you have to be able to see what you can achieve rather than perhaps the small bubble that you live in. So I'm not saying that all language books are, all self-help study books are necessarily bad. I think it's just a case of you have to take from them what you can, and you certainly should not take them literally at their word. To achieve positive habits is good, of course, for all of us. And to do the right thing is good. But when it comes to particular communication skills to get what you want, I'm not sure that these kind of books are the best for people who are working with a second language. I want to leave you today with an example of what I'm saying. So I was in a coffee shop a few days ago and I sat down at a table with my coffee that I'd just purchased. As I was sitting down, I noticed a cup of coffee in the corner of that table in a disposable cup with a lid on it. And I thought to myself, someone hasn't thrown away their coffee cup, or alternatively, maybe someone is sitting here. And I looked around quickly to see if there were any bags or jackets, and there were none. Just at that moment, a very angry man came up to me and said, "I'm sitting there, you have to move." And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize." And as I started to move, and I stood up, I asked him, "Do you know if anyone's sitting at this next table? Perhaps I can sit there." And the man responded, You have to move, this is my table." And I said to him, "Oh, yes, I understand that. My question for you is anyone sitting at this next table?" And again, with a louder voice, he said, "Look, you need to move. This is my table." And I said to him, yes, you can see, I've moved. But my question for you is anyone sitting next to you there on that other table? Because perhaps I can take that one." He changed his voice and he said, there was someone there, but I don't know if they're there now. I said, "Fine, thank you very much." And we both had a moment where it seemed that there was some kind of miscommunication. I was offended by the loud and rather aggressive way he spoke to me, and clearly he wasn't listening to what I was saying anyway. I had to ask him twice if anyone was at the next table. I adopted that kind of attitude on purpose, intentionally, because I wanted to show him how he was being rather aggressive for the simple circumstances of the fact that I was sitting there at his table. And anyway, the table had 2 seats and 2 chairs. It seemed strange for me that he would be very offended. He could have just sat across from me. Although in this world of singleness and aloneness, it's not what we do. But different people react in different ways based upon their own cultures, their moods, and their ideas. And I don't think any self-help book can help us with that. That's it from me. See you soon. Bye.